again.
Oh.
Okay, now that I'm unmuted,
Take
hi,
two.
I'm Gwen
It was
Callahan.
really good too. It's a shame.
I know. Okay, we are live. Start it over. So I'm Gwen Callahan, the co-director of HPLFF Film Festival, and I am joined by Matthew Hardesty, Mark Schneider, and Monstark as part of the shorts block for film block of our streaming edition, which is happening October 18th to the 22nd. So if you're just joining us, today is Saturday, you still have Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday to catch up watching and finish watching everything else. And you can go to our Eventive portal, which is hplfilmfestival.eventive.org. So welcome, guys. Matthew Hardesty, you're the director of the music video by Jump Rope, the song called Head Size. It has some nice tentacly goodness in there. And then Mark and Monstark are the creators of The Outsider. Welcome.
Hey, Gwen.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Gwen. Hey, guys.
Thank you.
How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for running the Q&A along with everything else.
So I'm going to start with the music video because we love it when we get music videos. We don't get a lot of them, unfortunately, but it's a little bit of a niche genre with the cosmic horror and Lovecraftian parameters on our festival. But can you tell us a little bit about how you made this video? Did you have free reign over making this music video, or did the band have an idea? Like, was it a collaborative effort? Like, how did this happen?
I pretty much had free reign of I pitched the idea to them and they loved it and they wanted to do it, and they were very involved. They came out, we filmed it in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. So they came from Texas, I came from California, uh, and we all worked on it together as one big happy family.
Nice. So so you went all the way across the country to film the music video. Is there a reason why you picked Pittsburgh?
Yes, our creature designer had just graduated from Tom Savini's makeup school in Monessen. So this is his first project out of school, and we wanted to just do as much as we could. So we filmed it in him and the lead actor's basement at their apartment in Monessen, and we filmed it in Monessen in the shadow of the school, and yeah, it was a great time.
Nice. The song is really fun. Your actors were really fun. How did you find them?
Um, Again, I known Sarah for years when from back in Houston. And then our other actor, Julia, she was another recent graduate of Tom Savini's makeup school. So, and they were all friends outside of school as well. Uh, so we just kept all really close, and uh, that they made it easier that we were also close together. And I had worked with Sarah and Lucas on this might be our fifth music video together, so we have a really good rapport and work well together, and it's just we all uh are excited about each other's ideas and just want to enable each other to make the coolest, weirdest things possible, and just say and yes and each other.
Okay, awesome. Since the visuals were your idea, are you a Lovecraft fan?
Absolutely. Oh, I've been a Lovecraft fan since high school. Many late nights playing the second edition of the Arkham horror game. I love Dagon, the film. That was a favorite back in high school. I love In the Mouth of Madness, which I feel like is very Lovecraftian inspired. Uh, the film, and then also, of course, Lovecraft's written works as well.
Cool, 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 cool. Monstark and Mark, I know you guys are Lovecraft fans. This is not your first film that you've made, and not the first film that has played in our festival. So we're excited to see another one of your puppet movies. And what made you decide to adapt The Outsider?
Actually, last year I wanted to do something last year. I just, for whatever reason, I got the itch just to like make a really kind of quick puppet thing. And I got the idea sort of mid-year, and I was like, I just need to do this and just get it done. And um at that time I just ended up doing kind of myself because I was like, I don't have any time, and I just need to jump in. And circumstances were that I just kind of ended up having to not really consider any help much. So I at that time I was thinking of The Outsider a year ago. So in 2023, I was thinking of doing The Outsider because I love that story. I've been thinking about maybe I would do it as a comic or something because I'm a visual artist, and I had thought for years of how I could adapt it because yeah, I just loved it. It speaks to all my kind of sympathetic monster thing that I always end up putting in my work. And uh, anyway, so I got into puppet filmmaking, and last year there were just not enough time to do it. So uh, I found Night Gaunts, and I knew that that was a very doable thing. So I knocked that one out, and The Outsider kind of sat for a while, and I just let it kind of marinate because I knew it needed more time, and I almost let it sit for too long. And then it was early this year, 2024, that I decided to pick it up again really, and then kind of started developing it, went down little rabbit holes, and um, it was just becoming kind of more precious to me that I get at the gist of really kind of what I'm trying to do is like focus on the monster side of things. And sympathetic monster, the outsider is just like that's that. And the after part, which if you've seen the film you'll see that there's a whole after part that it wasn't in the story. Um so anyway, so it was on my mind for a long time, and then thankfully this year I was just like, I just need to do this. I talked to Mark, and this is the first thing that we had after working together in various ways before. Um, we decided to kind of co-produce it, and thankfully, because it would have been a completely different beast, the level of quality and so many of the things would have been much lesser things. And yeah, so it really spoke to me, and thankfully Mark was into it too, and he likes the story, and he's a monster guy like me, so that's really what it came down to. I want to make monster stories, and The Outsider is just kind of all about the the little arc of this thing that thinks it's a human, and it's not anymore, at least. So it just really it speaks to me a lot, and I had to do it. So anyway, thankfully everything aligned this year, and we were able to work on it and make what you've seen. And I hope it all came across. I mean, we felt like it did. We felt like we got all of our fun stuff in there, and
Yeah, I mean,
important
you've
message.
already spawned some fan art, it looks like.
That was amazing. After yeah, we had the best time at the show, and yeah, someone came up to us and said that they had, I guess, drawn it during I don't know, during the Q&A or during
Mhm.
the screening. I'm not really sure, but they drew something and then finished it and then sent it back. I was blown away. I was so touched by that. It was amazing. First time that happened with film with me, like a fan art thing. Mark, sorry, I'm blabbing. You anything you want to add to
No,
all?
no. I mean, really, let's be clear that this was a Monstark project from the beginning. And we tend to go out like at least once a week to this place we love called the Dream House and just kind of spitball ideas. And he's had this going for a while, and he has his kind of precious side projects that he does. We do projects together. We've done music videos for people together. We've worked on a TV series of our own for a while, but the Lovecraft thing has always kind of been his side project. And we've been spitballing ideas because, talking about would it have dialogue and how would the dialogue be related and all these things. So we're spitballing for a while. And I mean, I love this guy. He's one of the sweetest and most generous human beings I've ever met. So I'm always like, hey, man, I'm here for you if you want help with the thing, but I'm not going to like step on I don't want to like, push my way in. If you want to help on your side project, I'm here. So I've been waiting, and he did Night Gaunts on his own. It was lovely. And then this time, obviously he was running out of time, and he's kind of like, hey, what would you think about maybe jump in? And I'm like, I'm on it. I'm on it. What do you need? What do you need? And the further we went in, the more he would just kind of kept dishing in my direction. Because the more we fleshed this thing out, the more we realized like, oh, we can push this a little further. So that means we're gonna need another set, and we're gonna need it real fast. Oh, and I've been messing with over the pandemic. I learned After Effects and Blender, and I've been messing with these things for years, but hadn't really applied them to a project. And when this was happening, I started doing some things on the side, like some test things, and being like, I want you to see my tests. And I showed him some tests, and he was kind of like, these are interesting. And then I was like, let me push it a little further. And then I remember the day, and he came over and he looked at what I had done. He's like, oh, we're gonna use that, you know? So we all of a sudden we're like, oh, we're gonna have a couple of visual effects shots in here. And the beauty of what we're up to, and I really see a great future in this, is that working with puppets, you can do CGI environments and set pieces that don't have to stand up to the muster of like having live action in them. We don't have to go, you know, Marvel Universe quality CGI environments, because when you put a puppet in it, it just needs to look like it's a practical set. It needs to look like a miniature. Like there's a scene in there where there's a van, and it's a you know, a CG, it's a Blender created van, and it doesn't look like a real van, but it looks like a miniature van. And that's exactly what you want for like a puppet thing, because there's a couple of shots in there where like these could actually be sets, but we created them in Blender just because they would have been, you know, time and cost prohibitive to create. Most of the stuff in there is practical, but we could get away with some fun things, like the fire in there is actually like one of those LED light with a fan and fabric, and it's just blowing the fabric. And there was a moment where I had like CG fire, and it was a choice between this or that. And like, and he was great. He was like, no, let's put the fabric one in there. Even though we could make it look like real fire, let's make it look like it's a fake, like lean into the things. Like we didn't remove all the rods for the puppets, things like that. Like let it be, let's show the seams on this thing. And when you do that, you kind of do the magic trick of distraction a little bit, where when you're looking at those things, you don't realize like that whole forest or the whole thing is all CG, because you have all this practical stuff jammed in there with puppets, and all of a sudden you can get away with all these things. So now we're like super excited to be able to flesh out things that we could never build, you know, just background stuff or props, and kind of sandwich it in with all this other practical stuff. Because we're practical builders. Like I'm a creature and monster maker. Like that's my day job. I do that for amusement parks and custom stuff. So we have all the capability to make all the monsters and everything, which is an interesting aspect of who we are, is that we're monster people first and then filmmakers second. Whereas a lot of, you know, the film festivals filled with film students and people coming out where they're filmmakers first, and then the monster is sometimes an afterthought, or you leave it up to the imagination, the cosmic horror, like the scream, and then fade to black or whatever. But we want to show everything. So that's why Monstark really got into, hey, the story ends here, but let's take it a whole nother act. Let's put a whole nother act on the end of the story and go, let's show the whole wild rumpus in the forest where this ghoul goes to and meets their people. And let's give it all. It's got this slime and gore, and let's show everything. Whereas Lovecraft generally is like a don't show kind of thing. The cosmic horror of like, you know, people pulling their eyes out. You know, how many movies have people pulling their eyes out because of the thing that they see, that they saw, but as a viewer, you don't get to see. So we're like, we want to show all the things that they said are undescribable. We're like, well, we can figure out what those look like.
Yeah, and real quick to your, yeah, totally. And real quick to your question, I just probably thought of the real answer was the outsider. I'm kind of more like monster centric and like sort of like positive kind of, like I want to turn things into like more fun and metal kind of. So I wanted to have monsters, and I was like, the end of the story kind of just, yeah, it's like a down, you know, down note. Now I'm stuck. He barely mentions that. Now I get to go have adventures with monsters, because apparently it's a terrible thing for the character. But I was like, sounds like fun. That's a place I'd want to go hang out. So that's why, like, hence the third act is the whole monster party thing. And anyway, in a really short answer, that's what it was. I wanted to just give it an uplifting kind of monster centric ending, and kind of just like end on that note. So yeah.
Nice. I love the parallels between your two films, where there's sort of this embrace of the monstrous at the end instead of being afraid and running away. Like all your characters are like, okay, I'm okay with this.
Yeah, that's a huge, always been a huge thing with me. It's like they have feelings too, you know. They're complex creatures. They have wants and needs, and they have feelings, and their motives don't need to just be that they're hungry or something necessarily. And that's why I liked wanted to put some sweetness in there next to the horrific stuff. And in a way, Matthew, like that's kind of why I like the end of your video, because it was like I was like, oh, that's so sweet. Like that's kind of the end, like this big hug thing. I'm just like, that's so my kind of vibe. I love that kind of thing. So,
I mean,
and right up next to like weird stuff.
Essentially, that's who we are, and that's the metaphor for who we are as dark artists. Even is our embrace of our dark side, and like growing up and being into monsters and leaning into the fear, and so taking control of it and finding the beauty in it. You know, it's like that's the metaphor for the sympathetic monster role, is like to embrace what's monstrous in us and realize it's our fear that makes it the other, and that makes us the outsider, you know. And so I think that's why I'm so attracted to dark art, because I feel like the embrace of the dark, embrace of the fear adds the whole other half of life. When you shun the dark, you're missing out. If you like, you only awake in the daytime and you're afraid of the night, there's so much life that you're missing out on. And so to lean into the dark parts of ourselves and what we see as the monstrous part of ourselves, you become a more holistic being. You know, you just become a fuller human. That's how I see it. And that's how I like the sympathetic monster thing, because the monster in us is only as scary as we make it, you know. We're beasts, you know, part of us. And I like that. You know?
Matthew, can you elaborate a little bit on the story and kind of the evolvement of the characters and like the denouement on your video, and like kind of what made you want to tell that particular story?
Yeah, I mean, I think Monstark and Mark, you know, they hit the nail on the head. Y'all said it more beautifully than I could have, of the idea of doing the opposite of what is expected in that scenario, of instead of running away or killing the creature, or getting violent in some way, instead of solving that problem with love and acceptance, and just exploring that idea of what if we are brave enough to not run away from the things that scare us, and instead to embrace it and try to understand that. And yeah,
Nice. I love it. It's like
I think I
our
learned
lives
some.
are enriched instead of I mean, like Lovecraft's story of the outsider kind of just ends with the cosmic horror reveal or realization that like, oh, I don't actually belong here. I'm something other than whatever else is, and that makes that character feel like they're less than, rather than being in something different and therefore more interesting in its own way.
And to find what you truly are is the most important thing. No matter what, you'll go through a period of judgment and be like, that's not what I expected I was going to be. And you go like, oh, I must be lesser than. But no matter who you are, when you find your people and you find your tribe, that homecoming is one of the most powerful things you'll ever go through in life. You know, because we're born into families that we don't necessarily choose as like a launching pad. But when you find your tribe, that's everything, you know, to have that true mirror. And I think that's what that outsider, that's what was so important, is like they had a period of mourning, but when they found their people, it's like, oh yeah, they're not going to judge me for like eating this dude.
For example. Yeah. Our stars.
I mean, we are called the only festival that understands, and I think that there's a object lesson in why that is, why that fit, that's fit. But you holding up your puppets, please, I would love to hear a little bit about the
Yeah, you want to
puppets
check these out?
are
Yeah, I mean,
just-
first of all, this is the scale, right? They're quite small. Um, I will get into like the technicality of it after, but I'd love for Monstark to talk about the origin of like where these where they started. Like I came into it later in the game. He already had the puppets started in a different, like the early version of her. Monstark built on his own, and Monstark had the bodies and the clothes, which are amazing. Like one of my favorite things about this guy is like even has like the little tag
Yeah, the tag.
on his
Oh
jeans.
my
Like
God.
these are amazing outfits.
Not that was a purchased item, by the way. Not I didn't
Yeah,
sew anything,
we're going to be getting
but
into making
they're
costumes,
perfect.
but this
Yeah,
was a
it was a
story.
time thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Actually, that body, Rupert's body, is the main character from Night Gaunts, last year's Night Gaunts. I just parted him out, sort of changed his clothes and gave him a new head, and there we are. And
And so it's like an action figure, right, of some kind, like a
it's basically, it was a really crappy, like it was just really crappy, something I ordered, and it was just like, I don't know, $7 or something. It came with all these like props, and it was just really bad. And you can see the proportions of the legs are just way, like one of the sections of the legs are way too long. It's just like really
Yeah.
bad. But I got that last year. It's kind of funny I used it again because last year it was like an emergency, like, oh, what can I get in 2 days and make it. And this year we had some time, but I was just like, I'm just gonna use, it's like nostalgic or something. I'm gonna use old, what's his face from Night Gaunts, and um that's a big thing for me, is like, what do we got? Like, how can I get away with
Yeah,
something, like
let's
use
touch
what's
on that
around?
just for a second. That Monstark, one of his amazing traits is that he's that good enough guy, and like, and that's a compliment. It's like for me, I will try to refine something to the point where actually the project won't get done because something else will come up and I'll have to put it away. And he'll just be like, "This has to be done. We got to pull the trigger on this. What's within arm's reach, we'll make it out of that." And that's why our merger, I feel like it's going to give birth to a lot of great things, because he'll get us there, and then I'll try to elevate certain things or through the process, and have some real pop in there.
Yeah, that's the fun part for me too. Is just like, well, not just, it's part of it. It is really getting away with stuff. Like, how do I, like, there's a example. I really wanted to make a set out of a comforter. My comforter is like this kind of velvety green thing, and I'd look at it in the light, like with my cats on it, and look with a pillow under it, look kind of like a hillside if I had the right LED lights on it. And I was like, I'm gonna put that in something. And then when this started happening, I was like, that's gonna be a whole set. So it gave me so much joy to like set that up in this little office room and like force the distance a little bit and put like a fake van on the. It was just like a little Hot Wheels van, so it looked like a van off in the distance, and light it. It's I don't know. I just love that because I feel like I got away with something, and I fooled somebody, not in a fun way. And yeah, so that's a big thing with me, and I get a lot of joy out of that. It's not always just because I don't have time. It's more like I like to save time for that kind of thing, save a little space for, the happy accident and the what I you could call like ad hoc kind of like, what do we got? Let's just use it. And we ended up doing that a bunch in this, and it was fun too to see Mark get into that because, if you knew how he works and like and what he does, it's just like it's just like so finished and like polished and detailed and amazing, and he'll just do whatever it takes to get there. And part of me was like pulling back against it, so it's kind of like, come into my realm a little bit, like come back this way and just like try to do it. And he did, and we both did that together. We were just like, that thing, we're going to use that.
Yeah,
And there were things that you put
it
in
was
there
beautiful.
that it
It's a
was just like,
beautiful thing. Well, I mean,
yeah,
we've been talking
fun.
about doing film projects together for 3-4 years now, and this was the first. And we've been building our pipeline, our philosophy, building our equipment up, our ideas. We've been writing tons, and this is the first one where we were actually like 3 o'clock in the morning, moving lights around, tripping over cords in the dark, and seeing if this partnership was really going to work. And it was magic. And anyone who's made any kind of film knows that when you have something in camera that's greater than what's out in the room, when you look in the camera and then you're all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, look what's happening on the screen is just so much more than the sum of the parts of what we've built in the room. You just know that's what keeps us coming back for more. And we hit a few of those spots like in the early morning and we're like, oh, it's on. Like, and this was just a throw together thing. And we're like, oh, if we can do that with this, man, we're gonna have a lot of fun. We've got some great Lovecraft plans coming up. And I think we're just gonna keep cranking these out over the years. No matter what we get into, I kind of feel like both of us will be dropping back every year to at least do something Lovecraft to keep this alive. Because now we have a world, now with Night Gaunt's
Yeah, exactly.
there's, you even had the same bodies in there. I think we're going to start building, a little its own little world, and they can all exist together in that space,
Yeah. Like having one thing was cool. Having two things that kind of look like they fit, it's just, I mean, that's really been kind of since I started doing this stuff, it's been kind of I want to apply that to, not everything I do, but like this stuff, I want to apply that and create this kind of like set the bar to where we want it and kind of make everybody buy into that and make that this is the look. And we get away with stuff, and sometimes you have to deal with, the occasional rod or, somebody's hand in a glove showing a little bit, but yeah. It was really fun. It's a great combination.
Nice. I mean, that is the magic of film. You were talking about how you tricking the eye, and that's pretty much all film is moving lights and images on a screen to approximate something else that's not actually there.
And you have a captive, right? You have a captive audience for a moment, at least, where if you can get them on board with you, you can take them wherever you want throughout. Like if you go, all right, here, the norm is you're going to see some rods and there's going to be some stuff made out of trash. And if you're cool with that, you're ours for however many minutes we have you. And now we can do anything that we want to do built with those things. You'll believe it because you're on board. You bought the ticket. That's where we're at. Like where do we get people to buy into it? Where we can actually do whatever we want for cheap, right? Because as just a couple of filmmakers who don't have a big budget, you have to find your place where you're like, where can we make magic for cheap that people will at least believe enough to ride the story out?
Mm-hmm.
The delivery system. It's about the delivery system being like, we're going to tell the best story we can within this delivery system.
Sure. And for Matthew, with your like the effects, you said your creature builder lived in Pittsburgh, and can you talk a little bit about the design of the tentacles and like how you meshed that with your actors?
Yeah, our creature designer Lucas Wade, he started working on it. I believe he had 2 or 3 months of lead time before we got to the video. And he just worked on the tendrils. They were essentially, large gloves that were controlled, and then he would puppeteer them in the shots. And basically, our workflow, once the whole team had landed in Pittsburgh, was that we would go down to the basement every day and line up the shots and uh just practice them and be like what angle is working, because every single one of the shots, and I think there's 14 or so effect shots, uh all in full makeup, uh and just go through each one and like a little puzzle of like, okay, where can we hide Lucas and where can we not see the string, because there was no digital, you know uh assistance really on this music video. It was all just done in camera, and putting someone behind a box or a pillar or just out of shot or hiding them in shadow. Uh, and I think that uh, not that there's anything wrong with seeing the seams, but I think being able to do all in camera, and I think that comes across. And I love the outsider as well. Like the hand and the glove is like some of my favorite shots because it just feels so honest, and it makes you want to believe. I feel like it induces like this magical quality to it if you are able to bring the audience along, like y'all were saying. Uh, this is our world, and this is what we want to show you. And we want to show you a lot. We want to show you the ending. We want to show you all these creatures and something that's really interesting and something you haven't seen before. And we may not have the biggest budget to do it, but we are able to do something cool at within our ability and things that other people are not trying. Uh, and to me, that's exciting. And I think people are really forgiving. And I think it's exciting to people. Uh, Maybe it shows it's like, oh, I can do this too. Uh, which would be exciting to me, to have
Yeah.
more of this art out there.
That's
Yep.
man,
That's
you
huge.
really got me. Can I just address something you said? You said you give give the audience a chance to want to believe, and I just think that is a really beautiful way to look at it. Like, because especially the last scene that we did was this invitation at the end where you see there's these flowers going off at the distance, and it was this invitation for the audience to like, oh, now it's your turn.
Yeah.
You
It's
go
like
and
come join us moment.
you go, join or
Yeah.
find your people, whatever it is. But that you give almost this interaction, almost like a choose your own adventure book, that you've opened the page and then you give the audience a choice to go like, oh, hey, look, here's a hand and a glove. Do you want to believe or do you not want to believe? And when you have the choice, when you're given the choice, when we're not just shoving it down your throat with effects and being like, you must believe this and look how real it is. It's like you go, hey, what kind of person are you? Do you want to lean into that when you see it? Be like, oh, a rod or whatever. It's like the first movie I ever saw on my own in the theater as a kid was Labyrinth, right? The Jim Henson film. And everything about that just made me lean forward and be like, I want to touch those things. I want to be there. I want to, it was an invitation. And I was all, yes, 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 give me that. So I think that's really beautiful. Like for the audience to want to believe and to give it to them and be honest about it and go, hey, we're not shoving this down your throat. We know that it's not real, but if you want the not real, that is our not real, you can come in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's up to you. You can go, oh, I saw the rod or I saw the glove. That's what kind of person you are. Maybe
I
the
know
person
those are your
next to you was
hands.
like, ooh, I saw the rod. I saw the rod. That's great.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
thank you,
thanks,
Matthew.
Matthew. That was really cool. Like
that's awesome.
want to believe is a really beautiful thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like we set up so many times where, okay, here's your I like your also both of you. I like the choose your own adventure. Are you going to believe or are you going to not believe? Is it going to break for you? Like this is your chance to like let it break for you. And then you're just, oh God, that was stupid, or it's your chance to go, oh, that's so wonderful that they did that. And that's who I am. That's what I would do. And
we could have removed the rods.
Oh yeah, I mean, we
chose not to in a bunch of spots. We did actually, we removed the rods in a bunch of spots, and then we chose not to do it in other areas.
Yeah, we didn't even paint. I remember Mark was at somebody's like, you know what, next time we should really spray paint these things because they're really shiny. They're just out there. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I don't know why I just jumped in and super shiny metal things sticking out of this character. But again, I think part of me is just kind of trying to force that, like, okay, I'm gonna push you a little bit and a little bit more, and maybe sort of like lead you down a trail, but also like give you chances to like, because I want to be able to do whatever I want to do. It's fun, and I want to be able to just play. So I want other people that are playful to come. Not everyone's going to get that, but the people who want to believe.
It does remind me of like when you're a kid and you're playing with your dolls or action figures or whatever, and like your friends are playing with you, and there's a back and forth where you like, you move the guy over here and you move the guy, and you're just kind of in it. And it is kind of like you both have to be invested in this make-believe, which is pretty much what films are. Like what story is, it's make-believe. And like actually that word make believe is pretty apt description of what we all do with the filmmaking and storytelling.
True. We're closer to the kid's bedroom than we are to Avatar.
Yeah.
You know? And that's where we want to be.
And I'm here for it.
You know, we want to be the elevated bedroom playtime.
Yeah.
You know?
I love it.
Because that's attainable.
Well,
That's
awesome.
attainable for people's imagination. Like when I went to Avatar, I didn't know whether I wanted to throw up or cry or cheer. It's so much, but I was also like, that's unattainable.
Yeah. Again, something you said, Matthew, something about you can do this too. That's a big thing with me. And in fact, it's a path that I kind of want to explore more, like kind of showing that you don't need, I always say this to anybody like, who listen, like you don't need you have what you need. You have a phone, you don't need a budget, you don't need stuff. Just don't wait for the right gear, don't wait for the right people. Just start making a thing. You can do it now. And part of me just wants to keep pushing that at a level that, yeah, anyone could really just step in and do what we do, with a little learning and, practice or whatever, like any art. It's just about getting in and doing it and practicing. But
he's not just blowing smoke either. Like this was all filmed on a broke ass phone. Like that's all we that's all we have. We just shoot on our phones. And like that the highest level of sophistication is like he gave me concept art and I worked in ZBrush and I did so there's some exchangeable faces. So I printed these out on a resin printer, which I mean, who doesn't have a 3D printer these days, or your friend has one? And so we printed these exchangeable heads out. So I just switched the heads out. They have the same hair that like hot glues onto the back, and we just change their heads out for expression changes. That was the highest level of sophistication with the builds that
was a big deal too.
And the rest of it was like masking tape and
you don't even want to know.
But we have some little lights, we have some little LED lights, and we're building up our arsenal of like stands and things, but we don't have a lot of sophistication, and it's just phones. It's just shooting on our phones. And the phones are amazing these days, so you can't go wrong with that. But Mark's is a particularly old and broke ass phone.
I'm a tech bottom feeder, so everything I get is just like on sale or old or and again, that goes with my whole thing. I'm like, I want to make this work to just push that proudly I made this on old stuff or something.
Nice.
I don't know what that says about me or anything, but I just love that. And I love like making the things attainable, because like you were saying about Avatar and whatever Marvel movies and everything, I mean, that's just like, to do something like that, if that's your bar, there's no way you can.
It'll crush any inner child's inspiration. Yeah. Like we all have that inner child that we're trying to feed with stories and like, build Lego cities in our minds. And like you look at that thing, go to the movies and that, you're like, why bother?
Right.
Why bother? No one's gonna see my thing and like it. But I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, wait, man, you gotta get Ray Harryhausen with it. You gotta get in the trenches and with the dirt and like make a cool thing and put it in front of your phone and shoot it and then build on that.
Like
work on your biscuit recipe. Your first biscuits are terrible and you just like work on it.
Like Matthew was saying with the trying to do it in camera, like that's a great goal, because just like, well, how can I get away with this and have the guy, I envision like the puppeteers right out of the frame or hiding behind a thing and doing that
super
kind of
uncomfortable.
Thing. Yeah. I love that.
It is. I mean, it is no less effective. Your films are no less effective for being like lower tech than, a Marvel movie or Avatar or something. Because both films, we had audience members coming up and saying like, wow, that block was really great, and like these films really spoke to me. And that's kind of the whole history. If you look at the whole history of the festival, it started back before there was like truly digital media. Everything was like digital tape or VHS or film, and like commercial, like consumer level access to those technologies was pretty small. So the films we were getting were just people's attempt at trying to to tell a faithful adaptation of a Lovecraft story or tell their own version of a story. And you know, our audience loves it. And I think we have the best audience in the world. Like, they're, you know, literate, they're thinking people, they've watched a lot of films. They're not just you know, people who wandered in. I mean, some of them are wandered in off the street, but this is, you know, our audience is kind of sometimes a little particular about what they like and what they don't like. And both of your films really struck a chord with a lot of people. So congratulations for for following your hearts and pouring just all of your creativity and blood, sweat, and tears into it, because they're very successful films, and we hope we see more of them in the future.
For sure you will.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we should probably wrap up. We've been talking for a long time. I know we could probably talk for longer, but we all have things to go watch. And Mark, I know that you're out in the country with in the wonderful art room.
Yeah, Monstark's way out in an orchard someplace and in a kid's art room. So it's a wonder this connection even worked, because it's a little weird out here.
It's the magic.
So, yeah,
magic
I might wander out now and go look at the moon or something.
Yeah. So before we go, I would love for each of you to tell people where to find you on the internet, on social media, where they can follow you and more of your projects. And I'm going to start with Matthew.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at batbardisty, and also my the creature designer Lucas Wade. You can find him at Lucas_Wade on Instagram. Please give him a follow as well. He has great stuff. Inspirational, his art.
And Monstark.
It's just Monstark everywhere. So Monstark at monstark.com. It's got right there. It's got everything. It's got video stuff. Right now I have the trailer for The Outsider, the trailer for Night Gaunts, anything else that comes up. So if you go there, you're safe. Monstark at Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, you know, all the things. So there you go.
And Mark, where do people find you?
My company that I do custom masks and creatures and props and all that work is called Faust and Company, and I'll put it there so you can. Is that? It looks backwards to me. Is that the right way to you?
It looks right to us.
Okay, Faust and Company, and that's where all my stuff lives.
Awesome. Well, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for joining me and taking time out of your schedule to come talk with us and enlighten our audience a little bit about the process behind your two wonderful films.
It's really fun. Thank you, Gwen. Thanks, Matthew. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, it's good to see y'all.
Yeah, thanks for hosting, Gwen. Nice chatting with you, Matthew.
Yeah.
Monstark, I'll see you soon.
Yep.